Yo, Weeksess. So I'm seeing that there's opportunity right before an election to be able to create some really good dialogue and discussion. I'm seeing it in federal election and even some of the things we've seen within our nation recently. So I just wanted to bring in some discussion and to provide a little bit of what I've learned in relation to Bill C-38. At the last Citizenship Code meeting we had, which we passed, we were told that Canada might pass this Bill C-38. And it addresses sex-based inequalities within the Indian Act, but only if you have enfranchisement in the history of your family. And there's a lot of families that we have that live on reserve that are just affected by the second generation cutoff rules. So this bill that is coming into place will not support anything that I've seen in my research, except for if your family has enfranchisement. So Canada is working out some kinks. So I want to give you these two sort of examples about what could happen with Bill C-38. So, there's issues that we were told about Canada being really, worried about how many people are going to apply, but that's total garbage because this has happened 3 times in the past. We have Bill C-31, C-3, S-3. So I'm talking specifically about enfranchisement at this stage. So in 1985, Bill C-31, Canada thought that about 174,000 people were going to apply and they were really worried. Well, 114,000 people applied. So that was 60,000 people less than they had expected. But then the crazy thing, which I'm so shocked that there's why they're using that as an excuse and telling our nation that, is that in 2011, Bill C-3, Canada thought that up to about 1.3 million people were going to apply when we only had 37,000 people apply. And then in 2017, Bill S-3, same thing, that Canada thought that 1.3 million people were going to apply, but only 21,000 people actually applied and received their status. So this is Canada-wide. It's not our nation. And I am really curious to see how many children are affected today within our nation. And I feel like a survey or something like that would be a really great opportunity to understand how many people are would be affected by Bill C-38, or perhaps even the second generation cutoff rule. So those numbers are all of Canada. So looking at the second generation cutoff rule, what you have, so today, looking at people within our families, and I think somebody that you have a grandparent, and you perhaps who are with somebody that does not have status. So you have that second generation cutoff rule so that your children then do not receive status. So this Bill C-38 does not reflect that at all. That second generation cutoff rule is still going to be in place. So I feel like we have our citizenship code, and you have to have Indian status through the Canadian government to then be a member of the nation. So how do you overcome some of those pieces? Well, we look at Section 10 of the Indian Act. And what that says, it's the band control of membership. So a band may assume control of its own membership if it establishes membership rules for itself. So we have an option and an opportunity to talk about Section 10 of the Indian Act so that we can define our own membership. Have we done that? No. So I want you to understand too that this is not about me. My daughter has her status. She is, and I'm going to be honest, she is 1/16th. We have children that live on reserve that are a quarter or more, and they don't have status because of the ridiculousness of the Canadian government and putting in an application, and not necessarily for these individuals too having enough support. How much support do you need? Who's the one making these decisions? We should be making those decisions for ourselves. This is not fair. We have children who live on reserve that cannot live in their homes once their parents pass because they're not going to have status. Now, we don't know what's going to happen, but that is a consideration we need to think about if we're actually thinking about future generations. So, this video was only meant to be able to create discussion, conversation. I'm very passionate about this. I've been researching it for a few years now, and I wanted just to be able to share the information that I've had, that I've really critically thought about, that could support us and help us as a community drop the discrimination, the oppression, and the divisiveness that we do feel that the Indian Act is putting on us, and even some community members as well, that we have some of that, the family dynamics and such too, that we really need to start discussing and figuring out what are we going to do to move forward to be able to build and create the community we want to see for our children. Gela Kessler for listening.